BLT Construction Services, Health and Safety Orientation. Table of Contents. Section 1, Policy Statements. Section 2, Responsibilities and Accountabilities. Section 3, Hazard Identification and Control. Section 4, Safe Work Practices and Procedures. Section 5, Joint Health and Safety Committee, Worker Rep. Section 6, Health and Safety Communication. Section 7, Accident Incident Reporting and Investigation. Section 8, Acknowledgement. Health and Safety Goals. Number 1. Perform all work in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its applicable regulations. Number 2. Reduce and eliminate the number of accidents and injuries in the workplace. Number 3. Reduce the number of hazards and risks in the workplace. Number 4. Ensure the health and safety of every worker in the workplace. Number 5. Promote a culture of health and safety. Section 1, Policy Statements. Health and Safety Policy Statement. BLT Construction Services considers health and safety to be part of primary importance and recognizes the right of every employee to work in a safe and healthy work environment. We will operate in a manner that will promote and protect the health and safety of those working for us. Environmental Policy Statement. BLT Construction Services' goal is to continually protect our environment through clear and comprehensive training of health and safety and environmental practices for our employees, visitors, and subcontractors. BLT Construction Services encourages and expects each employee and subcontractor to be environmentally responsible in order to protect the environment. Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy Statement. BLT Construction Services is committed to the prevention of workplace violence and harassment and promotes a violence and harassment-free workplace. Any violence or harassment committed by or against any member of our workplace or public will not be tolerated. Section 2, Responsibilities and Accountabilities. Internal Responsibility System, IRS, is a health and safety philosophy based on the principle that everyone in the workplace is responsible for health and safety. It puts in place an employee-employer partnership that helps to ensure a safe workplace environment. Employer responsibilities. Take all reasonable precautions to protect the health and safety of workers. Establish and maintain a joint health and safety committee or have workers select at least one health and safety representative. Train employees about any potential hazards and in how to safely use, handle, store, and dispose of hazardous substances and how to handle emergencies. Supply personal protective equipment and ensure workers know how to use the equipment safely and properly. Immediately report all critical injuries to the government department responsible for occupational health and safety. Appoint a competent supervisor who sets the standards for performance and who ensures safe working conditions are always observed. Supervisor responsibilities. Ensure workers work in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and applicable regulations and our health and safety policy. Ensure that workers use or wear the equipment, protective devices, or clothing required by the employer. Advise the worker of the existence of any potential or actual health and safety dangers known by the supervisor. Take every precaution responsible in the circumstances for the protection of a worker. Worker responsibilities. Work in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and applicable regulations and our health and safety policy. Use or wear the equipment, protective devices, or clothing required by the employer. Report to his or her employer or supervisor about any known missing or defective equipment or protective devices that may endanger himself, herself, or another worker. Report to his or her employer or supervisor about any known workplace hazards or violations of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Not remove or make ineffective any protective device required by the employer or by their regulations. Workers have the right to know about workplace hazards and what to do about them. Right to participate in solving workplace health and safety problems. Right to refuse work they believe is unsafe. Non-compliance policy. Zero tolerance refers to a worker's immediate discipline and removal from the project. Some examples include fall protection, working at height violations, trenching violations, logout and tagout violations, confined space work violations, failing to work in compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, workplace violence, fighting. Non-compliance policy. 3-strike discipline. A 3-phase disciplinary system will be exercised for all other contraventions to our health and safety policy or the Occupational Health and Safety Act. First offense, a recorded verbal warning signed by the offender. Second offense, a written warning outlining the specific violation signed by the worker and the supervisor that will be forwarded to the office of the contractor or employee of the individual. Third offense, a written letter to the employer or contractor outlining the specific circumstances of the violation. The letter will be signed by the offender and their supervisor and will serve as a notice of their suspension, termination, or dismissal from the project. Section 3. Hazard Identification and Control. Smoke and tobacco in the workplace. We will work in compliance with the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. The Smoke-Free Ontario Act is designed to protect the health of all Ontarians by prohibiting smoking in all enclosed workplaces and enclosed public places in Ontario as of May 31st, 2006. Smoking is only prohibited in designated areas and times assigned by the site constructor and BLT construction services. Fit for duty. In order to maintain a safe workplace for all workers, employees must be able to perform their work tasks in a safe manner. Employees who are not fit for duty may pose safety risks to themselves and to others. This policy outlines the requirements of fitness for duty, including disclosure requirements for employees. This policy is also intended to assist supervisors, management, and employees in investigation, assessment, and required actions in potential unfit for duty situations. Any use or possession of illegal substances will be grounds for immediate disciplinary action. There is zero tolerance for substance use in the workplace. Substance abuse. Any use or possession of the substances defined under the Criminal Code of Canada will be grounds for immediate disciplinary action. This is a zero acceptance or tolerance policy. Anyone found to be in possession of, found to be consuming, or under the influence of alcohol, cannabis, or drugs while on the job will be subject to immediate discipline up to and including dismissal. This includes lunch and break periods. Although recreational use of cannabis is legal in Canada effective October 27, 2018, cannabis is prohibited in the workplace. Mobile communication. Employees that have been assigned a company-issued cell phone are excluded from this policy, but must still be aware of your surroundings and only utilize the phone when it is safe to do so. Please remember that cell phones are banned from the use of vehicles across Ontario, and they must not be used while performing any tasks or while operating any machinery or equipment. Texting or emailing while driving is strictly prohibited. Workers are allowed to bring personal phones if permitted by the supervisor. Employees must exit the immediate work area for phone calls. Cell phones must not be used while performing any tasks, operating machinery, or equipment. Heat stress. The sun and warm weather of summer can also bring special hazards for those working outdoors. The combination of heat, humidity, and physical labor could lead to illness. The two most serious forms of heat-related illnesses are heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke, like symptoms or dehydration, requires immediate attention. Cold stress. Cold temperatures and increased wind speed, wind chill, cause heat to leave the body more quickly, putting workers at risk of cold stress. Anyone working in the cold may be at risk. The two common types of cold stress are hypothermia and frostbite. Personal protective equipment, PPE. A personal protective equipment, PPE, is designated for specific workplace hazards. You must use and properly wear the correct PPE for the job. As a minimum, CSA-approved head protection and CSA green patch safety boots must be worn at all times. Safety glasses, high visibility vests, and other PPE is to be worn as per the task and manufacturer's specifications. Personal protective equipment must be in a condition to perform the function for which it was intended as outlined by the manufacturer. Training is required in the correct use, care, limitations, and maintenance of the personal protective equipment. Personal fall protection. Fall protection applies where a worker is exposed to the following: falling more than 3 meters, falling more than 1.2 meters if the work area is used as a path for a wheelbarrow or similar equipment, falling into operating machinery, falling into water or other liquid, falling into a hazardous substance or object, falling through an opening in a work surface. This is a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to fall protection. All workers are required to maintain 100% tie-off when required by the Occupational Health and Safety Act and its regulations. Workers are to ensure that all fall protection equipment is in good working condition and all adequate tie-off points are used. Any worker found not following fall protection regulations will be disciplined and/or removed from site. Working at heights. As of April 1st, 2015, employers must ensure that certain workers complete a Working at Heights training program that has been approved by the Chief Prevention Officer and delivered by an approved training provider before they can work at heights. All workers who are using any type of fall protection systems must have Working at Heights training as of April 1st, 2017. The training requirement is for workers on construction projects who use any of the following methods of fall protection: travel restraint systems, fall restriction systems, fall arrest systems, safety nets, work belts, or safety belt. Fire prevention protection. Fire safety is an important responsibility for everyone. Establishing and following proper fire safety practices and emergency planning are essential for a safe workplace. Improper material storage and handling may cause a serious threat to everyone. The purpose of the fire safety procedures are to ensure proper storage requirements for flammable liquids and fire prevention processes. Hazard reporting. All employees are required to report immediately any hazardous situations, actions, or equipment to their supervisor or employer. It is important that hazards are reported to ensure they do not occur again and/or cause an accident or incident. BLT Construction Services has hazard identification and control procedures which are found in your health and safety manual. Some examples are the following: carbon monoxide, working alone policy, fitness for duty policy, fitness for duty incident reporting form, fitness for duty voluntary disclosure form, distracted driving. Please refer to your health and safety manual for more information. Section 4. Safe operating procedures. General housekeeping. Everyone is responsible for material storage and daily housekeeping. Housekeeping must be performed at least once daily. Material, tools, and equipment must be stored and moved in a manner which does not endanger any worker. If the material or equipment is to be piled or stacked, then it must be done in a way that prevents the material from tipping, collapsing, or rolling. Ensure work areas are adequately lit. Emergency preparedness. We have a strong tradition and commitment to the provision of a safe and secure workplace in support of our staff, employees, and visitors. As such, it is critical to ensure employees and visitors are aware of what to do in case of an emergency situation. The emergency plan is reviewed during the site-specific orientation and is located in the site office's Health and Safety Board. Ladders. During your work, you may be required to use a ladder or platform ladder. All workers must meet the following requirements in order to be prepared to work off a ladder or platform ladder. Ladder must be visually inspected and found to be in good working condition before use. 3-point contact must be maintained at all times while using it for access and egress. Workers must never face away from the ladder while working. Please see the following diagram for the right and wrong way to use a ladder safely. Elevated work platforms. During your work, you may be required to use an elevated work platform. All workers must meet the following requirements in order to be permitted to use an elevated work platform. Valid elevated work platform training. Full body harness in good working condition. Shall be inspected each day before use with the completed daily inspection checklist. Shall be equipped with guardrails. Workers must remain secured to the anchor point at all times while machine is in motion. Scaffold and work platforms. Every scaffold platform and other work platform shall be designed, constructed, and maintained to support or resist without exceeding the allowable unit stresses for the material of which it is constructed. Must be adequately built as per engineering specifications and secured as per their legislation. No scaffold platform or other work platform shall be loaded in excess of the load that it is designed and constructed to bear. All of the components of a scaffold or work platform must be inspected before use. Shall be at least 460 millimeters wide. If it is 2.4 meters or more above a floor, roof, or other surface, consists of planks laid tightly side by side for the full width of the scaffold. Shall be provided with a guardrail system as required. Shall be provided with a means of access. Shall not have any unguarded openings, and shall have each component secured against slipping from its supports. Hand and power tools. Hand tools. The employer shall provide and demonstrate, as needed, the appropriate personal protective equipment to be used with hand and power tools. The employee shall inspect all tools prior to use. Any defective tool or equipment shall be replaced, corrected, or repaired prior to use. Repairs must be completed by a competent person. Each employee is responsible for the safe operation and condition of the tools and equipment that he or she uses. During the work shift, employees shall periodically inspect the condition of the tools and equipment in use. Eye protection shall be worn when using hand tools where fragments are generated. Additional PPE may be required to protect from exposures to harmful noise, dust, fumes, mists, vapors, and gases. Power tools. Electric power tools shall either be of the approved double insulated type or grounded according to CSA standards and local regulations. Power of electric tools shall conform to local regulations. All guards that are part of each power-operated tool shall remain installed while in use. Guarding shall meet the requirements set forth by the CSA. Only competent personnel shall be permitted to operate such tools. Plug and cord connected power tools shall be inspected by the user before and after usage. Manual material handling. Manual material handling refers to the moving or handling of objects by lifting, lowering, pushing, pulling, carrying, holding, or restraining. Manual material handling is also the most common cause of occupational fatigue, lower back pain, and lower back injuries. Lockout and tagout. Lockout and tagging ensures that hazardous energy sources are under the control of the workers needing protection. Lockout often involves workers using a padlock to keep the switch in the off position or to insulate the energy of moving parts. Tagging is how you tell others that the device is not to be used, locked out, who locked it out, and why. Only trained and authorized personnel are to perform lockout and tagout. Forklift operation. The purpose of this procedure is to ensure that competent forklift operators are aware of the hazards and controls associated with the operation of a forklift, as well as the selection, use, and safe operating procedures. This procedure applies to all classes of lift trucks at all job sites and facilities. Traffic control. This policy is intended to protect workers and the motoring public by regulating traffic flow while allowing the work to proceed safely and efficiently. Workers must ensure that public traffic has priority over construction equipment and facilitate the safe movement of vehicles and equipment within the work zone. A site-specific traffic control plan must be developed when required to do so. Company fleet, company-owned vehicles. The purpose of this policy is to ensure the safety of those individuals who drive company vehicles. Vehicle accidents are costly to our company, but more importantly, they may result in injury to you or others. It is the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner and to drive defensively in order to prevent injuries and property damage. Section 4. Other specific safe operating procedures. Job-specific safe operating procedures are found in your Health and Safety Program Manual for the following tasks: forklift operations, trenching and excavating, scaffold safe work procedure, asbestos encounter, structural beam placement guides, safe work planning for carpentry crews, welding protection, safe handling for compressed gas. Please refer to your Health and Safety Manual for more information. Section 5. Joint Health and Safety Committee, Worker Representative. Joint Health and Safety Committee. A Joint Health and Safety Committee is in place. A Joint Health and Safety Committee is composed of a worker and employer representatives. Both workplace parties will work together to improve health and safety conditions in the workplace. The role of the committee is to act as an advisory body that helps to raise awareness of health and safety issues in the workplace, bring forth health and safety issues to the employer, and then to make sure that these issues are addressed. In order to achieve its goal, the Joint Health and Safety Committee holds regular meetings, conducts regular workplace inspections, and makes written recommendations to the employer for the improvement of the health and safety of workers. Work refusal process, first stage. Worker considers work unsafe. Worker reports refusal to his or her supervisor or employer. Worker may also wish to advise the worker safety rep and/or management rep. Stays in safe place. Employer or supervisor investigates in the presence of the worker and the worker safety representative. Issue resolved, worker goes back to work, or issue not resolved, proceed to the second stage. Refusal process, second stage. With reasonable grounds to believe work is still unsafe, worker continues to refuse and remains in safe place. Worker or employer or someone representing worker or employer calls the MOL. The MOL inspector investigates in company of worker, safety rep, and supervisor or management rep. Inspector gives decision to worker, management rep, supervisor, and safety rep in writing. Changes are made if required or ordered. Worker returns to work. Section 6. Health and Safety Communication. Workplace Hazardous Material Information System, WHMIS. The Workplace Hazardous Material Information System, WHMIS, provides Canadian workers with information about hazardous products used in the workplace. Under WHMIS, workers have the right to receive information about each hazardous product they use, handle, or store. The purpose of WHMIS is to ensure that information regarding hazardous materials is effectively communicated to all employees in the workplace through labeling, material safety data sheets, and training. The goal of WHMIS is to reduce injury and disease by communicating specific information about hazardous products to the worker. Workers can use this information to reduce their exposure to hazardous products. Each employee who handles, works with, or works in close proximity to a hazardous material or has potential for exposure shall be trained on WHMIS and shall have a copy of the WHMIS training on hand with them at all times. Safety data sheets, SDS, for products being used in the workplace will be maintained at each site in a designated location. WHMIS training needs to be updated and reviewed yearly. Exploding bomb for explosion or reactivity hazards. Flame for fire hazards. Flame over circle for oxidizing hazards. Gas cylinder for gases under pressure. Corrosion for corrosive damage to metals as well as skin or eyes. Skull and crossbones can cause death or toxicity with short exposure to small amounts. Health hazard may cause or is suspected of causing serious health effects. Exclamation mark may cause less serious health effects or damage the ozone layer. Environment may cause damage to the aquatic environment. Biohazardous infectious material for organisms or toxins that can cause disease in people or animals. Please see the attached images for workplace and supplier label examples. Section 7. Accident and Incident Reporting. Accident and Incident Reporting. Any worker incurring injury of any severity shall report it to their supervisor and the project supervisor immediately. If at any time you suspect there could be a need to implement an evacuation of the premises, notify your supervisor immediately. Maintain order and do not return until the situation has been investigated by appropriate emergency services and cleared for re-entry. Critical injuries. As per the Occupational Health and Safety Act, critical injuries are injuries of a serious nature that 1. Places life in jeopardy. 2. Produces unconsciousness. 3. Substantial loss of blood. 4. Fraction of a leg or arm. 5. Amputation of a leg, foot, arm, or hand. 6. Burns to a major portion of the body. Or 7. Loss of sight in an eye. Where a person critically injured from any cause at the workplace, the following procedure must be followed. Call 911 immediately. Provide first aid or comfort as appropriate and notify the project supervisor. Stop all work. Turn off any equipment. Remain as calm as possible. Notify your supervisor and inform him or her to call the location of the injured worker. Superintendent to call the MOL, Central Region Duty Desk at 416-314-5421 or 1-877-202-0008. Isolate the scene. Cordon off area with caution tape and do not remove, disturb, or alter any equipment, device, or debris except to aid the injured person. Supervisor must be aware that the scene remains intact until the MOL arrives and investigates. Any witness or worker involved with the incident must remain at the scene to be interviewed by the MOL. Injuries requiring medical attention. Where a person is disabled from performing his or her usual work or requires medical attention but is not critically injured, the following procedure must be followed. Notify supervisor immediately. Do not move the injured person until an assessment is made by the trained first aid certificate holder. Administer first aid within the confines of qualifications only. Call 911 if necessary. If 911 is called, the supervisor will assign a worker to meet the EMS and direct them to the location of the injured worker. If any doubt exists as to the critical or non-critical nature of the injury, treat the injury as critical and follow the appropriate steps. On-site incidents, near misses. Where a notice or report is not required because of personal injury as indicated above, but there has been an incident, explosion, fire, failure of equipment, or near miss, the project supervisor shall complete a report as prescribed by the Occupational Health and Safety Act and submit it to the Ministry of Labor and Joint Health and Safety Committee. Examples of other incidents are the deployment of a fall arrest system, accidental electrical contact by a worker or a worker's tool with energized equipment or conductors, structural failure of all or part of a column, beam, wall, false work, truss, or scaffold, the overturning of a crane or similar hoisting device, and the collapse of a part of an excavation. First aid. Your supervisor will tell you the location of the first aid kits and list of trained personnel on site. Supervisor responsibilities. First aid is administered immediately only by a qualified first aider. There is a record of the first aid treatment, given advice to the worker. Transportation is provided immediately to a hospital, clinic, or doctor's office. The injured worker has all necessary documentation prior to leaving the area or site. Employee kit for reporting work-related injuries. Complete the first aid treatment log. Worker responsibilities. They receive first aid immediately only from a qualified first aider. They tell their immediate supervisor of any injury or the possible onset of a work-related disease/condition. They cooperate in healthcare treatment as well as any on-site treatment. They cooperate in a return-to-work program. They return all required documentation promptly. Report to head office any changes in income, return-to-work status, or medical condition. Return to work. We are committed to prevent injuries and illnesses in the workplace by maintaining a healthy and safe work environment. Any important part of this commitment is to assist an employee who has been injured or becomes ill as a result of workplace incident by returning him or her in a safe manner. We have a return to work program that offers modified duties in case any worker requires accommodations. All workplace parties have a duty to cooperate in the work reintegrated process. These obligations to cooperate include initiating early contact, maintaining appropriate communication throughout the worker's recovery, identifying and securing work integration opportunities for the worker, giving the WSIB all relevant information concerning the worker's work reintegration, and notifying the WSIB of any dispute or disagreement concerning the worker's reintegration. Section 8. Acknowledgement. BLT Construction Services is committed to providing and maintaining a safe and healthy workplace for all employees, as well as providing the information, training, and supervision needed to achieve this. Each employee is encouraged to play a vital and responsible role in maintaining a health and safety workplace through being involved in the workplace health and safety program, follow correct procedures for task and use proper equipment accordingly, wearing protective clothing and equipment as and when required, reporting any pain or discomfort as soon as possible to immediate supervisor and/or health and safety rep, ensuring all accidents and incidents are reported, immediately reporting to your supervisor any health and safety concerns, keeping the workplace tidy to minimize the risk of any trips and falls, and signing below, I acknowledge that I have read and understood the health and safety policy and guidelines set out in the attached manual and understand that I am required to work under the requirements of the Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations. Any willful or persistent violations of this policy will be considered cause for discipline and/or dismissal. Thank you for completing the BLT Construction Services Orientation.